New videos every day.
Do you have low energy? Do you ever find yourself dozing off in the middle of the afternoon at work or at school? Do you want to lose weight? Or do you just want to feel better overall? Well, this video is for you. Now today's video has been requested, and most of the videos we do actually have been requested as well. So I want to know what you want to know. So pause the video, let us know any questions you have, any topics that interest you, because if we get a lot of requests for a certain topic, then we will do a video on it. And as well, as always, it helps people find the videos if the video has ratings and comments. So if you find the information helpful and beneficial to you, please take the time to rate it. Thank you. Today we are going to be talking about how sugar affects your body and why it's addictive. We're also going to be talking about what diabetes is, how to control your sugar cravings, and all this information is also the same useful information in order to lose weight, increase your energy, and control your hunger. Now here's something interesting. If you get too much of a nutrient, it can become toxic and you can die. So one example is if you drink too much water, it can become toxic and you can die from diluting your blood too much. Another example is there are plants in nature that have a substance called DMT, and your body naturally makes this substance, but in really minute amounts. So if you consume this plant that has that substance in it, you're getting way too much of the amount that you're normally used to, so it becomes a toxic amount, and then it can cause a trip. And another example is, and maybe you've heard people sneaking into their grandparents' house and sucking on the oxygen tank to get high. Well, too much oxygen can become toxic as well. Now the reason I bring that up is because the amount of sugar that Americans consume is enormous. We are consuming so much sugar that it is a toxic amount and it acts like a drug in our bodies. So to give you some examples, what do you call it when someone eats too much sugar? Well, people call it a sugar rush, a sugar buzz, a sugar high, and all those words are associated with the effects of drugs. And then what do you call it when someone hits real low and they come off the sugar? Well, people call that a sugar coma or a sugar low. So in other words, the amount of sugar you consume can actually act like a drug. Now here's some other ways how sugar can act like a drug. Number one, it knocks your body out of homeostasis. So when you consume high amounts of sugar, it jolts your body out of that balanced state because it's such an excessive amount. Your body has to rush and hurry up and figure out what to do with this large amount of sugar. So it knocks it out of homeostasis. Number two, you can actually develop a tolerance to it. And so you need more to feel that same energy or that same rush. And number three, people can develop a dependency on it. And this is why when you have gone with sugar for a long period of time and then you suddenly stop sugar, why you have cravings and why you can go through withdrawal symptoms without having the same amount of sugar that you're used to. Your body tries really, really hard to maintain this even blood sugar, blood glucose level. So what happens when you get too much sugar in your diet? Well, that blood sugar level goes really high and your body fights back by releasing insulin to bring the blood sugar back to its normal state. If your blood sugar is too low, then it recruits sugar from your body and puts it into the bloodstream to bring that level back up. So in other words, your body fights really hard to maintain this homeostatic, even blood glucose level. When your blood sugar is too high, it's called hyperglycemia. When your blood sugar is too low, it's called hypoglycemia. And your body really tries hard to stay in the middle and to stay balanced. And if you want to go to the doctor and get your blood glucose checked, they'll ask you to go on a 12-hour fast. And the reason why you do that is because the doctors want to determine if your blood glucose is able to stay the same even when you haven't eaten something, because that tells them how able your body is to regulate your blood sugar. Now, the way the body regulates your glucose is through a substance called insulin. Insulin is produced in your pancreas, and when you have too much blood sugar, too high of a blood sugar level, it signals to your pancreas to release that insulin, and the insulin binds to the sugar molecule, which allows it to enter the cells for storage. And if you have a problem with that insulin response to your blood sugar changes in your blood sugar levels, then that is what is called diabetes. Now I want to talk about what you experience when you eat too much sugar. Okay, so this is your homeostasis in your bloodstream of your blood glucose. So it's right here in the middle, it's balanced, it's normal. Okay, when you consume a lot of sugar, whether it's, a lot of candy bars or a lot of candy, or you eat some junk food, well, that blood sugar spikes, so it goes in one direction. Well, then your insulin is released from your pancreas, which kind of pushes back against the sugar, and it's sent to your cells, and it brings it back to a normal state. Well, sometimes that insulin actually pushes too far, so it goes a little bit to the left, which when your blood sugar is low, and this is really important to know, when it's too low, you feel hungry. And so when you feel hungry, unless you are aware of what's going on, you may reach for that food that caused your blood sugar to spike. So you're over here low, and you decide to go grab another candy bar or some more junk food, and it causes your blood sugar to rise again. So then, over a period of time, you got this tug of war, going on inside your body. And eventually, when you've had that tug of war, that's not a normal state, that's not homeostasis, that's not how your body is supposed to operate, and that can wear you out. And this is what sugar addiction is. This is what sugar dependency is. So you constantly are eating a high sugar diet. So you constantly are putting a lot of sugar in your diet. Well, in order to combat that, your pancreas is constantly secreting insulin. So you kind of have this tug of war here. You got a lot of sugar in your diet and a lot of insulin in your body. And so eventually your body gets so used to that amount of sugar in your diet that it automatically puts insulin in the body. And so if you go one day a few hours without getting your normal amount of sugar, well, what happens is that your body is so used to putting all that insulin in your body, and it goes too far over because there's no sugar to push back against it. And so you have extremely low blood sugar. And that's what sugar addiction is. That's why you get irritable. That's why you feel like crap. That's why you have cravings. Because now your body is so dependent on that sugar amount to stay balanced that without it, your blood sugar drops too low. Now, without going into too much detail about diabetes, I wanted to let you know that diabetes type 1 is when a person is actually born with the inability to produce insulin on their own from their pancreas. And in those cases, people actually have to take insulin injections in order to keep that level blood glucose normal. Now, most people are not type 1. Most people are type 2 diabetics. Type 2 can be caused by two different factors. Number one, a high sugar diet over such a long period of time, and the pancreas constantly having to secrete insulin. Basically, the pancreas is like, I've had enough, I can't do this anymore, and it gets worn out, and it just isn't able to keep up producing insulin in order to keep the blood sugar level down. So that's the first way. The second way is similar in that a high sugar diet over a long period of time, the insulin is connected with the sugar, and it eventually gets sent into the cells. Well, once that happens so often, so long of a period of time, the cells finally get to the point where they're like, we've had enough. We don't want any more sugar. We are full. We don't want any more. And so they become what is called insulin resistant. Now, I'm sure that you can consume a small amount of refined sugar on a daily basis and it not be in toxic levels. And I don't know what that number is, but it's certainly less than the amount of sugar found in a candy bar. And of course, the majority of Americans eat way more than that. And the other thing I want to point out too is there are 3 high-carb, high-sugar foods that are indigenous to the New World. So if you are of European, Asian, or African descent, Up until 400 years ago, you weren't introduced to these high carb, high sugar foods. And they are, number one, corn. That's where we get our high fructose corn syrup. That's where we get some other sweeteners. Number two, sugar cane. Of course, that's where we get our refined processed sugar. And number three, the potato. So all of these foods are very high carb, very high sugar, and evidently our bodies were not evolving or, weren't adapted to handle that kind of sugar in our diet. And when someone does on a consistent basis, it basically just wreaks havoc on the body. What I really want you to know is that refined sugar in any form is not needed by your body. It is not necessary. Your body can go without it forever and be healthy and be fine. So that's what you need to know, is that, whether it's a soda or dessert or cookies or junk food, high fructose corn syrup, any form it takes, your body doesn't need it to function. It actually should be viewed as a luxury, not as a staple. And most people, I think, view it as a staple. It's in, they eat it every day. It's in everything that they eat. And it's just the typical thing that's in their diet. But it can't be viewed like that. Now, I'm not saying you can never eat sugar, because I have it in moderation and from time to time. But your body doesn't ever need it. And that's the thing to realize.